It's time to update your fragrance wardrobe with a new signature scent from Maya. Why not try Coach Open Road Eau de Toilette? With refreshing notes of juicy red apple, sparkling lemon, and an energizing dose of spicy Szechuan pepper, followed by a vibrant blend of lavender and clary sage. Or the new Marc Jacobs Daisy Paradise limited edition range. Floral and free-spirited with 3 seasonal fragrances that pay homage to abundant florals in a desert superbloom. No matter the scent you're after, you can shop fragrance in-store and online at maya.com.au.
You're listening to a MamaMia podcast.
Did you know we release videos every week just for M+ subscribers? To watch us answering your questions and showing you how to do things, head to the link in the episode description. Welcome to You Beauty. I'm Shazzy Hunt and it is Ask An Expert Tuesday, where I quiz an expert on a particular beauty topic. And if you're one of those people out there that's ever wondered what it would be like to have a head full of long, luscious, flowing locks, thanks to hair extensions, of course, you are going to want to hit that volume button, because today I am joined by Yovanka Loria, who has over 20 years of experience in the hair biz, and she specialises in hair extensions. She runs her own South Australian salon, and she even has her own hair extensions line. Yovanka, thank you for joining us on You Beauty.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So throughout your career as a hair extension specialist, I have no doubt you have seen the best and the worst hair extensions have to offer.
Absolutely.
Let's start right there. At their best, what can hair extensions do for your overall look and hairstyle?
Honestly, it just completely changes everything from color to someone's confidence, and it's so instant. Hair extensions have really, really evolved over time. We can intermix all these beautiful colors with particularly hand-tied hair, because that's what I specialize in now. You know, most times when you color your own hair, you never really get the results. You can sit there and color for hours and hours, but the color will wash out, the hair won't hold. So particularly for extensions, it also takes away the wear and tear on your hair. And then when you style it, it also helps keep the style in your hair for a lot longer.
On the flip side, at their worst, when extensions are poorly applied or they're just poor quality, where can it all go wrong?
Oh my God, where did it all go wrong? So I've been experimenting, like you say, pretty much from, my entire career. I just felt like hair on its own was never enough. And not only were we using hair extensions for photo shoots, but also trying to take it into the salon service. Anything that was individual, that's where, you would run into problems. Like I would do the method, I'd get really, really excited, and then clients would come back and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm not doing these anymore. Particularly for me, it was more the individuals with glue. I just found that, glue, there was a lot more limitations and a lot more disappointment with hair extensions back in the days compared to what's available on the market today.
That's so interesting that there's even been evolution in the hair extension world, which is still kind of relatively new. Before we get into the different types of extensions, I do want to ask you the first thing that always comes up on this topic, which is, what are hair extensions made of?
Okay, so this is a big, and thank God I've gone through, I went through 5 years of trying to source hair, and my husband was going to China, and, we kept saying we're going to get the best quality hair. And I think even me as a consumer, I was being sold on, extensions, and, most people know it's Slavic hair, or it's Russian hair, or it's Remy hair. There were so many different variations. Honest, ugly truth is there's no such thing as, Russian. Think about it. To mass produce Russian hair is pretty hard to make it mainstream. So the reality is it's either Indian hair, which is coarse hair, or it's Chinese hair, which is a lot finer in texture. So it kind of makes sense when you really think about it, to be able to mass produce hair. Hair is technically supposed to be human hair, but behind the scenes, what goes on in the factories is a whole nother schmozzle. Consumers are fed so many different ideas of what hair is. And then when you put it in your hair, you might wash it a few times or after a couple of months, but then the wear and tear. And I honestly do believe a lot of factories intermix synthetic hair with natural hair. And that's where you can run into a lot of the problems.
You can get synthetic hair, you can get natural human hair, or you might even get a blend.
So you don't want the synthetic hair. Most companies are now claiming to be human hair, But then, if you look at the hair, I don't know have you ever experienced extensions in your own hair?
I have once, a long time ago.
There's that fake shine on there. It doesn't even really look like hair. A lot of it is bathed in acids to make it look shiny, but then once they wash it a few times and it strips away that hair, you're really left with what's supposed to be either is it authentic hair or is it more, commercialized mainstream hair, which is pretty much what's out on the market right now. You really do want to go for human hair, but then also different levels of human hair will determine how much the client is paying for it, determine whether you get the good hair or not.
Before we get into some of the different varieties of hair extensions on offer, I do want to know about how it blends into your natural hair, no matter what kind of variety of hair extension you go for. So in terms of color and in terms of cut and styling, how do you make it look like it belongs in your head?
So here's an honest secret. It really comes down to someone's skill set. So back in the days, a lot of qualified hairdressers kind of put, iced extensions as a salon service because of the disappointment and the damage. So what was happening is a lot of non-qualified hairdressers or, they weren't even hairdressers were taking it on. So it really needs to be a skilled qualified hairdresser to be able to pull it off, because it's not like getting hair out of a pack. Putting it in someone's hair, imagine you have to know how to color someone's hair. You have to know how to cut someone's hair. You have to understand color. You have to be able to color blend the extensions so that they're seamless. It's the only really way that you can get the natural result. Otherwise, it's really hit and miss. It really is a package deal.
Do you need to look for someone that specializes in extensions?
100%. So that's why someone with my company, who we only offer our extensions to qualified hairdressers, they have to become certified stockists by doing a course, and they're trained in the method, the application, and the color. There's so many companies that you can buy hair right off the internet, and then they'll take it to their hairdresser or non-qualified hairdresser and be like, can you put this in my hair? And I think that's really where the problem starts.
They can put it in your hair, but will it look like it belongs in your hair?
Will it look like real hair? That's right. And when you think about it, you're like, oh, that makes so much sense, right?
Absolutely. It's an interesting thing because you mentioned earlier about how it's an instant transformation. It's not like, skincare or something where you have to play the long game and over time you might see results. You'll see instantly whether it's worked, but you will also instantly see if it has not worked.
There was a period where people were getting so disappointed. That's where we can go into different types of extensions, but they were just in sheer terror to see damage. And it ended up being like a vicious cycle. So they would get a bad color, the hair would snap, then they would use extensions as a filler. And then the extensions, kept snapping the hair even more. So it was this vicious cycle of, never-ending hair that blended and that matched, because hairdressers or non-hairdressers didn't know, they didn't have that skill level to be able to say, no, this is what we need to do your hair in order to rectify, in order, for your hair to be able to recover and grow. So it's kind of like become this beautiful, very, very different. I don't know if you've done your research on weft extensions, because it is like a curtain type weft extension. You put it in the hair and it predominantly covers a big area, of the hair. It's less contact points, but you're using that as color. So you're not having to color, the client's hair as much. So it kind of is like reverse engineering the theory of extensions, because your own hair is able to grow while wearing extensions.
So let's start with, that's the first category then. When I looked into hair extensions, there seem to be the three major categories. So the wefts or weave or sew-in, fusion or bonded, and then tape-in. Is there any others that we've missed?
Probably a few others that are floating around. They're predominantly the main ones that were on the scene. So your weft extensions, and this is where it's also confusing. I know when I was getting into the weft extension game, we were up against machine-made wefts, which were really super thick and really chunky. And then the way that they would lay the beads in, if the client's hair was really fine, they would have to add synthetic hair and corn braider in before beaded tracks, like a flat track weft method, but they were still using machine weft. So it's really thick and bulky, almost sat like a shelf in the head, and really heavy as well, which could have caused damage, and it did cause damage. And then fusion ones, which are ones that I kind of dabbled in for about 6 months until I was like, no, I'm not touching that, because you'd put it in someone's hair and imagine all these tiny little beads with fusion bonds. And every time a client would have to have those fusion bonds replaced, they would have to replace the hair. And anything that's individual just puts so much tension on. If someone had thicker hair, like density hair, you could get away with it. But if someone had finer hair, plus on top of it damaged by color, it was a recipe for disaster. And then the last one is the tapes. So they were probably my least favorite because of that little glue. They were just a mess. I don't know if you've heard of anyone that's had tapes, but you're putting in tapes and you need to really fill in so many packets of these little tapes for it to look thick and full. But then, after a few weeks, the little tapes would slide out. They would flip. You couldn't custom color it because of the glue. When you installed it in someone's head, they had to wait for the glue to settle. It was really, really messy. And then when the clients would come to get these out, imagine the disaster of trying to get glue out of someone's head.
So tell me then about the one that is your magic hair extension go-to now.
So the magic one for me, it really, really changed my world, which is why I predominantly only offer hand-tied hair. That's just me being biased because I really could have offered every other method, but I chose not to because I saw instant results. The hand-tied method is very, very fine and it's like a curtain type. It's kind of like the machine, but it's so fine in the hair and we're able to stack different layers of hair in someone's head. So it's very, very lightweight. After a couple of days, they might feel a little bit tight, but nothing that doesn't pass. And within a week, it honestly feels like it's growing out of their own head.
How does it actually attach onto their head and hair?
There's different ways of applying it, the beads. So you're kind of creating like a track with little cylinder beads and their own hair. So you kind of create a cylinder U-shaped section around their head, lay the foundation, make sure the tension is right, and then we're able to stack the little tiny wefts. And that's why we're able to incorporate different colors, which mimics kind of like as a colorist when you're applying, say highlights in someone's hair, you're never working with one color. So that's the beauty of it, is that it's a really custom system that's never been around before.
What kind of hair types, hair lengths best suited to having these kind of extensions?
So again, for everyone, and that's the beauty of what we do. I know extensions before were very much for like someone who wanted long hair, but we really specialize in all hair types, whether someone has shorter hair like 14-inch and they really need just one row just for a little bit of thickness, or if someone's looking more for like, your average 18-inch. But then also we have, those girls that like that full 22-inch. So it really is, varied for every single person. It's so different.
And we were talking about colour blending before. So does the colouring process happen after the extensions have been attached?
At the same time.
Oh, wow.
Because it's so visual, we're able to install the wefts or the hair and then we're able to custom colour it around it. So it creates a perfect blend, seamless blend where you can't even see where the extensions start.
No one, especially women of a certain age, should ever feel invisible, disconnected, or unimportant. So join Priceline Pharmacy in a celebration of you in all your uniqueness. After all, I'm me. I'm Me is all about having pride in yourself, preferring to complement your own appearance rather than hiding your age. It's about living life on your terms, to feel empowered to live your best self. So celebrate you and all your uniqueness at every age, because at Priceline, it's always a festival of you.
Price-wise, what kind of ballpark are you looking at for extensions of all kinds for that matter?
Generally, extensions from what other brands that were, varying between say $800 to $1,500 to maybe $2,000 for the longer length. Whereas our hair is pretty much the same. It starts off at like $900, $1,000, and our hair can go up to $3,000, $4,000. It's crazy, right? But the quality is what sets it apart.
I was just about to say, is it very much a case of what you get is what you pay for?
100%. And I think it's a testament, not as a bragging point, but a review point. Like if people go to our review section, if you think about how much people are paying for our hair, we were very particular and very careful who, the type of clients that we were able to achieve it on. They understood the process. They were careful. They maintained the aftercare correctly. So it has to be a specific person who understands it's high maintenance for low maintenance. But if it's done correctly, this hair and our method and the way that everything is installed, it really does outlast any other product. It's kind of like if you buy cheap, you buy twice. A lot of girls were realizing that it might be cheaper initially, but overall, it's not just about the price, but if you have a look at the damage that it's causing and then you add the element of it looking natural, and then you add the element of the quality feeling natural.
Tell me what that's about. So high maintenance, as in you have to spend some time in the salon. How long does it take, by the way?
Between 2 to 4 hours, again, depending on, each person. If it's only one row, you only might be in the salon for an hour. And again, depending on what we have to do with custom color. So there's no set in stone for one person, but generally safe to say 2 to 4 hours. It's also an experience because we're not operating like most salons where, before it was like that churn and burn mentality. A particular hairdresser doing, 3 clients on the go, whereas with this, it is an experience. We like to elevate that customer experience and take that one-on-one client. So we're with that client from start to finish, which is really a lot more peaceful and a lot more enjoyable. And then we can really hone in on that detail for that specific client.
So you've got a couple of hours getting it done. You've got a bit of money up front for the experience, but then you said low maintenance. Tell me about this low maintenance. What can you expect?
So initially you're spending a lot, and you're also on that one day that you've got to wash it, because you've got to take time to wash it, dry it. It takes maybe up to half an hour to an hour to do it on that one time, that one day. But then overall for the week, guess what? Your hair looks incredible. So also when you style your hair, on normal hair, it just doesn't hold, and you have to wash it a lot more. So with extensions, and that's why the client's hair is able to recover and grow, because you're alleviating that wear and tear on their hair by having the extensions that, effectively cover their own hair, and you're not having to, style it as frequent.
What do you need to do in that aftercare process to make sure the hair stays looking great? Is there products you should use or anything you shouldn't use?
For sure, absolutely. So when they're washing it, it's, generally we find a particular shampoo that's suited for their hair. Our clients do like using a treatment instead of a conditioner. And then obviously some heat styling protectant and some oils as well. Like every other day they can pour a clear oil in their hair, but not a lot, surprisingly. It's only on that one time that they wash it. Then they style it. And then if they want to style it, say in 2 or 3 days, they can just pour a light heat protectant or a light oil. Then they just go over it really lightly.
So totally fine to use tools, to use all your usual suspects in the bathroom.
100%.
Nothing.
Very carefully. It has to be a certain tool that's heat controlled. Don't go higher than 180 degrees. So it has to be something that has a heat control tool, but they definitely can use it.
So how long can you have hair extensions in?
There's no particular time frame for the person. They can last anywhere from 6 months to 12 months. I don't promote it as such to every single client because it really is so personal, but we've had some clients that can go up to 2 years with our hair as well.
Wow. Let's say you've come to a point where you either want to have them out or you've decided to have a change. How do you go about doing that? Do they start to fall out, or do you need to go and actually have them removed?
Okay, so every 8 weeks, clients need to come in. So we install it, and then every 8 weeks they come in and we do what's called a relift maintenance appointment. So we cut the thread out, take the beads out, reposition it and pop it back in. So a lot of the time what happens is something magical happens because, like I was saying, the wear and tear is less on the client's hair, and you can really see the client's hair recover and grow. So within 6 months, that's why we take a lot of before and after photos and we save it to their file. So you can really see visually how much their own hair's been able to recover and grow. And then say, for example, a client starts off with 2 or 3 rows in their hair, and in 6-7 months their hair's been able to grow, then we're able to also drop their rows. So they're not having to have as much hair in their head. So a lot of clients get to a year point and they're just so obsessed with the hair. They're like, give me more hair. But even if they do have more hair, they're not having to have as much hair if their hair's been in recovery mode and they've been able to grow their hair out, which is pretty cool and exciting.
When you do want to have them taken out for good, do you just come in, have them removed?
Have them removed, yep, and then go on your way. Happens very, very rarely.
People get too addicted to the look and the fullness.
They do. Sometimes people are like, let me, give me a break. I'm going away and I want to be able to go swimming. That's the only thing with this. You can pretty much live life, but you really can't go swimming a lot in chlorine.
Oh.
That's it. You can't submerge your head. Some of our clients do go swimming to the beach, but that's always has to be at their own risk. They just got to be really, really careful with how they look after it. And that's what we teach them in their consultation and once they're having their service. But if they do want to take it out, as opposed to, something like tapes, which is an ordeal to get them out, it takes 2 hours. The residue is still in client's hair, whereas with this, you literally snip it out, take the beads out, and the hair's still intact. The scalp is really healthy, which is really, really important.
That was my absolute next question, was what is the condition of the natural hair like once the extensions are removed? Is there any damage?
I don't think there's any product that's, completely damage free. There's always pros and cons. And that honestly does come back down to the specialist. And if they understand their tension, this is something that we honestly had to, and I'm so transparent about it. When we first started, did we have issues of a little bit of hair loss? Of course, but nothing compared to what I experienced with other methods. And we just tweaked it and we got it right. Once you get the tension right, if the hair can recover and grow, while you're wearing extensions and you're taking it out, it's really a win-win.
Is there anything you can do to support your natural hair health while you have extensions in?
I think just the fact that you're not styling your hair as much and you're not coloring your hair as much alone is what really sees that magic transformation of the client's hair being able to recover and grow while you're actually wearing extensions.
Every episode of You Beauty ends with our expert confirming or denying a myth. Here's yours. Extensions give you headaches.
True and false.
Okay.
Again, it really comes down to who's installing it, how skilled the hairdresser is in applying it. If they understand their tension and the scalp and they've got all that in consideration, the more that they understand that, the less headaches they get.
I'm actually going to throw a bonus myth at you today. Extensions get more tangled than your natural hair, true or false?
Again, true and false. If the hair's not good quality, you'll get tangled. And you will know if it's not good quality because every extension hair, when it's wet, you can tell if it tangles. So with our hair, that's proof in the pudding. When the hair's wet, if it's done in the shower and it's done correctly with the right products, the brush, you can just glide the brush over the extensions. And that's a big takeaway to, whether you've got quality hair or not.
Yovanka, thank you for joining us in You Beauty to help us better understand the different varieties of hair extensions and how they look.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
And if you're looking for another podcast to listen to, why not check out This Glorious Mess? If you have kids or you just love a Disney movie, you will love last week's episode of our parenting podcast where they talked all about the new movie Turning Red. And it's got a few feathers ruffled.
Now, it seems, and this is a generalization, the Americans are outraged that this is about teen rebellion and periods because from my observations, Americans love guns, love violence in the movies, love anything.
But they're outraged at a period. But hey, continue with your gun laws.
Yes, but as soon as it's sort of, I guess, sex in certain settings and or puberty or periods, they're like, oh, no, my children can't watch that.
Head in the sand, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or just totally different priorities. So when I was reading the online reviews, I was like, wow, I think I speak for Australians where we have a much more liberal view of that sort of stuff.
Find it wherever you get your podcasts. Also, just by listening to MamaMia or clicking on our website, you're supporting girls in schools in some of the most disadvantaged countries in the world through MamaMia's partnership with Room to Read. We're currently funding 300 girls in school every day, and our aim is to get to 1,000. Thanks for listening. I'm Shazzy Hunt. Our show producer is Mikayla Floriano, and Erin and Lee will be back tomorrow with your weekly hit of beauty news. Bye.
MamaMia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.
Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra. Cervical screening can literally save your life. It detects HPV, a super common infection that causes almost all cervical cancers, before it has the chance to develop further. But did you know that you can now choose to collect your own cervical screening test sample? When visiting your healthcare provider, you use the self-collection swab to collect a sample. And the best part is, there's no speculum involved. It's quick, it's painless, and if no HPV is found, you're done for 5 years. Make sure you're up to date with your cervical screening. Talk to your healthcare provider about the self-collection option or find out more at health.gov.au/NCSP.